good morning. How are you? Some deep ones today. So building on some of what I stated yesterday about how my experiences aren't the traditional ones that most people get. I'm starting to see the depth of the human experience that's beyond the illusion. And once we start to accept that there's another level, another layer playing on top of the what I call superficial human experience, going to that lower depth where you're a soul, you're a higher self, you're some fraction of humanity that's having experience to expand possibility and expand awareness, etc. So, for example, a pull that we have and is very strong for me right now is for partnership. To have a relationship and to carry that into depth and intimacy so I can self-explore and a bunch of other beautiful things. Now, I'm starting to see the pull is not what our human experience tells us it is, like to feel safe and to be filled with another's energy and to complete myself and all this kind of stuff. It's all mangled up. It's been told us in this, pardon me, demented way, which is all fine. And societally, it's all about marriage and it's all about honoring another and honoring your vows and honoring experience, and then overlay that with men trying to protect women and women trying to stand in their power, and this big, call it mangled mess, emerges that creates a bunch of pulls that has forgot what truly two souls coming together to explore is. Can you imagine if you have to, how would I describe it? Okay, let's say if you, it's truly this. Okay, if you want to have sexuality in your life, you got to go lock yourself in a room with a person that you hardly know and find a way to make it work. That's at one level what marriage is. If you take the pursuit of love out of it, it's like societally we are not allowed to have sexuality based on religion, etc., unless we're married and committed to a partner. But literally that's kind of locking into a contract with a person that in a lot of ways you hardly know. And we do all this dating ritual and all this bullshit to try and figure out if they're compatible when you've never really even maybe seen their body or seen what level of intimacy they can go to, if they're even capable of sexuality, etc. And whether we want to admit it or not, sexuality is a drive for every single one of us in our body and in our mind, etc. And we can sit and pretend that it's not, but it is. It's the propagation of the human species. We have this pull inside us genetically that's going to be a part of our life. And then when we overlay that most of our intimacy, our depth, etc., shows up in a deep container of sexuality, of vulnerability, then there's a real important thing there. But I know from a man's perspective, I've been married, I went through the whole thing. It can also be a trap. And most women are going to be really uncomfortable at that. But if I don't know that woman and then I go to the level of having a marriage with her and then find out she's got a wound or some kind of trauma and there's no capability of sexuality, etc., I'm trapped in a sexless relationship. And that's my experience. And I know lots of women that are in that exact same thing because women want to be in their sexual power, etc. So now let's go back. So to have relationship, this pull that I'm having is I want to welcome intimacy, sexuality, depth, build a container with a woman that we can explore each other in our wounds and be vulnerable and get to that depth that I know all women want, an emotional depth, a powerful soul connection, etc. But to be able to get there, we have this gauntlet of questions, of traumas, of protections, of stories from our past that won't allow people to open to that level of vulnerability without meeting usually an unstated bar, is the best way to put it. So we end up in this push-pull and this craziness and all this kind of stuff. And I had a really good option to see that. I was feeling this pull from a woman, and she obviously wanted to go deeper, and she shared a lot of vulnerability, spoke very openly about sexuality and other things. And then when I tried to formalize it and say, hey, let's have a coffee, let's talk, let's make this, figure out this depth and how this is going to work, instead of being met at the same vulnerability, because now it was starting to be formalized and the possibility was starting to show up, I saw a huge pullback. And then I saw a stating of boundaries to test, and just kind of trying to, I guess, call it cow me. Just get me to stop so that she could have control, so she could feel safe and control the situation as more possibility opened, which is fine. And I fully understand that, but it was in such a unclear way. It felt really like almost violating me. I was being very open and vulnerable and moving into what I thought what she wanted, and then it was like, don't use the word we, and don't put my name on that piece of paper where you're trying to describe what we're doing or whatever, because that's doesn't feel good to me or whatever. And it was just like closed, even though all her energies had suggested it. But here's the thing. We both had wounds. We both had fear. We both had concerns. We both were being triggered on past experiences. And this is the gift. If you step out of that 3D version of a relationship, this is the gift that comes in the 5D, the soul level, the higher self interaction, where you're going to rub up against and feel attracted to a person that has similar wounds. And at the beginning or at the end of the interaction, I didn't know where I stood and nothing. And it smashed me open. It made me in tears, like, what the fuck is going on? And I got to sit with it the last few days, and I started to realize that she was very much like me. She had similar wounds and was protecting by controlling, etc. And it didn't feel good. So I now got this gift. Like I said, my nervous system interaction calmed, and I felt very open, and now all of a sudden I was honoring what was going on inside. So now I had this choice. Do I continue to pursue that when it was very clear that she had lots of reservations, a huge amount that wasn't stated, etc., which was going on inside of me, but I got to make a choice. Do I want to move forward and have this happen in my life, or do I keep that person at arm's length? And it was very clear I was getting the arm's length just to be safe. But at that same time, why would you even pursue it unless you wanted somebody that could ground you? It could call you out on those behaviors, because it's obvious they're shutting down, they're closing off, and a huge gift would be lost. Like, do I share this back to her? And I made the offer. It's like, okay, I have this magnificent gift, but it's going to have to be received in vulnerability and heard without protection, without whatever. And not like, you did this, you were wrong or whatever. Like, no, when I heard you say this, I felt this. When I heard this, I felt this. Underneath in the energies, I read this. Just from my receipt, my perception of what occurred. And that's a magnificent gift, and it's a whole level down in vulnerability, etc. But it's like I would have given my left arm to have somebody reflect for me when I was so deeply in my trauma, in my contraction, in whatever. And this is the thing that I speak of in the title. It's like there's a gift in experience that's far beyond just kissing and love and having a person in your life. That's far beyond, that basically is us exploring ourselves in a vulnerable way with someone that we trust, that's going to reflect back to us and share. And there's something in that for both people. Not like I'm just healing myself at their expense. No, I'm going to get a person that's going to be willing to be more vulnerable, be more open, be able to reflect back for me. And then the level goes to this new relationship of intimacy, of love, of amazingness. But this isn't what we call relationship in our past. This isn't how we saw relationship. It was like, oh, I just want to get in with this person and be sexual and all this kind of stuff. And not to mention, when we get to even sexuality, the depth goes even deeper, because now we're looking at body wounds, and we're looking at nervous system, and we're looking at stuff that's far beyond a traditional relationship or even marriage would even have. So now you're interacting with a part of God, with a polarity, with a hopefully polar opposite, so you can find a balance of yin and yang in being really, really open and really, really loving and really, really powerful. So I'm asking to look underneath what relationship is. Look underneath that struggle, that thing that scares the hell out of you, the thing that triggers you is actually the gift. And if you can hold your integrity, and if you can hold your self-love and be really reflective for another person in an accountable way, not like, oh, fuck, you did this to me, it feels awful or whatever, and say, I felt your wound, I felt your pain, I felt your suffering, I feel it too, I'm feeling an equal and opposite of it. Can I talk about it? Can we share about it? Will you tell me what's underneath? And then something magic happens. But we don't get that. And it's crazy. So she just messaged me as I was saying that. So I want us to look underneath. I want us to see that there's a bigger gift. Those scary things give an opportunity to open and share and be vulnerable, or not. And this is what we're at now. This is where the new level comes. This is why my experiences are weird and different than other people, because I'm seeing the experience for the real truth of what those experiences are. Interaction with another, sharing, opening, vulnerability, being deeper. So what's it happening for you? When's this happening? Can you maybe see it from the new perspective? I love you. I'd love to share more. I just have to get into an appointment, but take a look at that. Any questions, come back on it. And I love you all. Have a good day. Talk to you soon.